Hi, this is Miss Cliffner with your lesson in Amplified Desmos Math. It's lesson 1.09. And basically, we're looking at finding areas of a polygon. So sometimes the warm-up changes, but today there's a warm-up about, two groups of figures. These on the left are polygons. These are not polygons, right? So what's the difference between polygons and not polygons? Hopefully you're seeing that these all have little vertices, corners, straight lines. These have some vertices, straight lines, but there's an open area here. Like if you put a pet inside that pen, it could walk right out. If you put a pet in there, you're good. But if you put a pet here, it could walk right out. So this is an open space. This is a closed space, but oops, these have curves. Polygons just have straight lines. All right, so let's go to the notes where we fill in some words. A polygon is a closed two-dimensional shape with straight sides that do not cross over. You could use overlap, but they don't cross over each other. To understand the word closed, think about putting a pet anywhere into the polygon. Would the pet be able to walk out? If yes, the shape is open, not closed, and the shape is not a polygon. A point where two sides intersect is called a vertex, and the plural of vertex is vertices. Okay, so now this is a review of what we learned so far. Rectangle, length times width. So I want you to label the 4 with length and label the 5 with width. You just multiply the numbers, right? You do 4 times 5 equals 20, and you're counting the squares inside, 20 square units. Parallelogram. We did an activity where we cut off a piece of a parallelogram and we can turn it back into a rectangle. It's basically this base, which is just like the length, and the height is just like this width. Now here's the thing, the height is right here. This is a slant height. This would be very useful for schools out. This would be useful for finding a perimeter, the distance around the parallelogram, but we're counting the squares inside. We need the area. So we need the 8 centimeters and the 4.25. So you multiply 8 times 4.25, and you get 34 centimeters squared because this one was measured in centimeters. Okay, last one is a triangle. Now, a triangle is base times height divided by 2 because of this. A triangle is actually half of a parallelogram. So if I copied the blue triangle and made a second triangle, I now have a parallelogram, which is just like this. It's base times height. I'm going to label this dimension with a B and this dimension with an H. I do 6 times 3, but then I have to divide it by 2 because there wasn't a second triangle. So it's 18 divided by 2 equals 9 because there are only 9 square units. If you counted these units, there's only 9 inside half of the parallelogram. All right, next, how could we find the area of this polygon? Well, we could decompose it into familiar shapes, like rectangles or triangles. That's usually what I look for. And then a square is just a special rectangle, right? We could find the area of each part and then add all the parts together to find the total. Okay, don't recommend this way for this picture. Check it out. That's a triangle, that's a triangle. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles plus a rectangle. 4 triangles plus rectangle. That is my least favorite option for this shape. Let's look at what says the other choice would be. We could box it to make a large rectangle. Then we would need to subtract the cutouts. So this one lends itself to the box method. Okay, I'm going to erase this. I'm going to put a box around this shape, right? Now, oops. Now maybe it's a rectangle. Maybe it's more of a square. So I go like this and I count along the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, it's a square. So I'm going to do 4 times 4. 4 times 4 equals 16. But then look, I've got these 2 cutouts to subtract. So I want you to think of this 2 ways. If you notice that this piece and this piece go together to make 1, and this piece and this piece fit together to make 1. Each of these triangles is 2 squares inside. So I would have to subtract 2 and 2, or just subtract 4, and I get a total of 12 units squared as my answer. Now, with this triangle, I want you to think about it like this. The triangle was 4 across. It was only 1 square high. This is the base. This is the height. 4 times 1 divided by 2. That's how I got 2 for each using the mathy way, right? The formula. Okay, next. This is an OYO. Try this one on your own. Try to decompose it and maybe rearrange it. So I might suggest doing this. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Now notice that, oh, I should point something out. I'm going to just draw this in blue. Don't trace this. But if I try to trace this, oops, that was a terrible tracing line. Trying to hold my computer laptop still. Ooh, see how the lines aren't parallel? This shape is not a parallelogram. When I made that red line, I did not cut it in half. I cut it so that it's 2 triangles, but you can see the bottom one is bigger. So right now I'm decomposing it into triangles. Okay, this triangle has a base of 2 and the height from the top to the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's my height. So for the little triangle on top, it's 2 times 4 divided by 2. That gives me 4 for the little triangle. The top triangle, which is smaller. Now I'm going to just use a different color for this triangle. If I count from here to here, here's the base of the triangle, 1, 2, 3. And oh, look, the height is the same as the height of the top triangle. It's 4. So this one is 3 times 4 divided by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And I add them together. 10 square units. Okay, so now I'm just going to look at a couple of problems, students that went wrong. Jasmine thinks this looks like a parallelogram, right? Which is what I was saying about some people might think it's a parallelogram. If it was a parallelogram, you would multiply 4 times 3, but it's not, so that's not a good idea. And then this student had a good idea of breaking it up into what he thought also might be a rectangle. But this is not a rectangle because a rectangle would have to go across there. Ooh, so he could have broken it up into 1 triangle on the top, 1 rectangle in the middle, and another triangle on the bottom. Okay, that's it. Good luck.